We're all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it, that's all. The Breakfast Club wasn't just a movie about five kids stuck in Saturday detention. It was a battlefield of egos, a pressure cooker of teenage angst, and a production nightmare that nearly imploded before it ever reached theaters. Behind those iconic confessions and the legendary fist pump ending lay a world of brutal heat exhaustion, method acting gone wrong, and cast feuds that would destroy friendships forever. Directors nearly fired their leads. Stars dated each other. Entire scenes were improvised on the spot while actors literally fell asleep from heat stroke. Today, we're diving into 20 weird facts about The Breakfast Club that will completely change how you see this supposed coming-of-age classic. And stick around for the bonus fact. It involves a 4-hour cut that the cast says is completely unreleasable. Let's break detention. Fact 1. The movie was originally called The Lunch Bunch. The Breakfast Club almost had the most generic teen movie title imaginable. The original script went under the name The Lunch Bunch, which sounds like something a focus group would reject in 30 seconds. What changed everything? A random conversation with a high school kid. Thanks to the son of one of Hughes's friends, who attended New Trier High School in Northfield, Illinois, the name was changed. Sometime during New Trier's school history, the students and staff created the designated breakfast clubs for early detentions. Hughes grabbed onto this real-world terminology because it felt authentic, not the lunch bunch, not detention day. The Breakfast Club, a term that actually meant something to real teenagers facing real punishment. This single title change transformed the entire perception of the film. Lunch Bunch suggests comedy. Breakfast Club suggests consequences. That shift in tone would define everything that followed. Fact 2. Molly Ringwald fought to play Claire instead of Allison. John Hughes had a very different vision for his leading lady. While John Hughes knew and loved Ringwald from their time working together on 16 Candles, he originally brought her onto the Breakfast Club to take on the role of the much gnarlier Allison. Picture that for a moment, Molly Ringwald as the basket case with dandruff and compulsive lying. Originally, he had talked to me about playing Allison, but I wanted to play the other part, Claire, because I felt like that was less like me, Ringwald explained. She recognized that playing against type would showcase her range, not playing into it. This wasn't about vanity, it was about craft. The decision created a domino effect that perfected the entire cast. Ali Sheedy stepped into Allison's role and created one of cinema's most memorable transformations. Meanwhile, Ringwald's Claire became the princess we loved to hate, then learned to understand. One casting switch changed two iconic performances. Fact 3. Judd Nelson's method acting almost got him fired. Judd Nelson didn't just play John Bender, he became him, and it nearly destroyed his career. Due to Judd Nelson taking a method approach to his role in The Breakfast Club, John Hughes saw him as a menace and nearly fired him. This wasn't subtle character work. This was full immersion that spilled over into real life. Nelson would stay in character between takes, antagonizing crew members and pushing boundaries with his co-stars. He wasn't being professional. He was being Bender. The problem? Bender is an asshole, and nobody wanted to work with an asshole, even if it was for artistic reasons. John Hughes and Judd Nelson created such a bad relationship that Hughes refused to work with Nelson after this film. Think about that. Hughes created an entire universe of teen movies, launched multiple careers, but he drew the line at Nelson. Method acting worked for the performance, but it killed the professional relationship permanently. Fact 4. The cast suffered brutal heat exhaustion. Filming The Breakfast Club was literally torture. Shot in a 2-story library, the lighting played an instrumental part in the film, though extreme heat from the lights caused tremendous problems for the cast. In the upstairs portion of the library, temperatures would vary from 95 to 110 degrees, causing heat exhaustion. The actors weren't just delivering emotional performances, they were fighting to stay conscious. The cast fell asleep. In response, 2 additional assistant directors were hired specifically to keep the young crew awake. They often dozed off in the heat. They'd start snoring. Picture this: emotional confession scenes interrupted by loud snoring from actors literally passing out. Cinematographer Tom Del Ruth revealed the desperate measures. We had to have the assistant directors go wake them up in the middle of the shots. We had to hire 2 additional assistant directors to just work the second floor and keep the crew awake so they wouldn't snore and ruin the sound takes. This wasn't movie making, it was survival. Fact 5. Anthony Michael Hall had a growth spurt during filming. The Breakfast Club captured adolescence so authentically because it literally watched a teenager grow up on camera. Nelson spoke of Hall's surprising growth spurt during shooting. According to commentary on the 30th anniversary edition of the film, Nelson remembered being 2 inches taller than Hall during auditions and a half-inch taller during rehearsals. Then biology took over. Sometime during shooting, Hall had outgrown Nelson, who jokingly stated that he began writing letters to geneticists. This wasn't a continuity error. This was real teenage growth happening in real time during production. The physical transformation mirrors Brian's emotional journey in the film. He starts as the smallest, most vulnerable character and literally grows into someone who can stand up to Bender. The metaphor wrote itself through actual human development. Fact 6. The original script had a Porky-style peeping scene. John Hughes almost sabotaged his own masterpiece with a gratuitous scene that would have destroyed the film's credibility. According to both Molly Ringwald and Ali Sheedy, the original script had a Porky-style scene in which the boys sneak off to peek in on the high school's synchronized swim team, stumbling upon a topless PE teacher along the way. This wasn't character development. This was exploitation. The scene would have reduced The Breakfast Club to another mindless teen sex comedy, exactly what Hughes claimed to be rejecting. Thankfully, his leading ladies had the courage to call him out. When the actresses confronted Hughes about the misogynistic sequence, he listened, cutting it from the movie altogether. This moment represents the collaborative spirit that made The Breakfast Club special. Hughes trusted his actors enough to let them shape the story, and they trusted him enough to speak up when something felt wrong. Fact 7. Each cast member got a piece of the library banister. The end of production became an unexpected ceremony of brotherhood. To make the last day of shooting easier, Hughes gave each actor a part of the library's banister as a keepsake to remember the experience. This wasn't a studio-mandated wrap gift. This was Hughes recognizing that something special had happened. The banister pieces represent more than souvenirs. They're physical remnants of the space where 5 strangers became a family, where stereotypes broke down, and where real connection happened. Each actor took home a piece of the place that transformed them, both as characters and as people. Speaking to the resonating universal themes of the movie during a commemorative 30th anniversary interview, Ringwald fondly recalled having a blast filming her sophomore feature with Hughes. Like many of her co-stars, she became so acquainted with the cast that it was hard to say goodbye. The banister pieces made that goodbye a little easier. Fact 8. The dance scene was written for Molly Ringwald solo. One of the film's most joyful moments almost didn't include the entire cast. The dance scene at the end of the movie was written just for Molly Ringwald, but the whole cast ended up dancing because Molly Ringwald did not want to do it on her own. Ringwald's instinct transformed a solo moment into a group celebration. This perfectly captures the film's central theme: nobody succeeds alone. Claire, the princess, didn't want to dance alone. Just like Brian, the brain couldn't handle academic pressure alone. Just like Bender, the criminal, couldn't survive his home life alone. The dance scene became a visual representation of their newfound unity. The organic evolution from solo to group performance mirrors the entire character development of the film. What starts as individual stories becomes a collective experience. Ringwald's refusal to dance alone created one of cinema's most uplifting endings. Fact 9. There's a mysterious upskirt shot, but not really. The film contains one of the most discussed camera angles in teen movie history, and it's not what people think. The shot where you can see up Claire's skirt was not Molly. She said she absolutely did not want to do that shot. Ringwald drew a hard line on exploitation, maintaining her dignity while playing a character often reduced to her appearance. This detail reveals the careful balance Hughes walked between authenticity and exploitation. He wanted to capture teenage reality without objectifying his young actors. Ringwald's boundary setting protected both her personal comfort and the film's artistic integrity. The fact that audiences spent decades debating this shot shows how effectively Hughes created realistic characters. People treated Claire like a real person, which meant caring about her treatment both on and off screen. Fact 10. The cast went undercover at real high schools. Go ahead and like and subscribe because what I'm about to tell you sounds like something out of a spy movie. To capture the authenticity of suburban high school life, John Hughes pulled a 21 Jump Street when he encouraged the cast to go undercover as students at Glenbrook North High School in Chicago's northern suburbs, where Hughes attended school in his youth. Judd Nelson took this assignment way too far. Speaking to the Wall Street Journal, Nelson remembered playing the role so convincingly that the students all believed he was much younger than his age. Telling some teens he was underage, he used a fake ID to buy them beer in exchange for a ride to his hotel. The method of acting didn't stop there. When asked about the hotel, Nelson responded by saying his father was in prison and that he was staying at the Westin O'Hare. They would ask me why I was staying there, and I told them my dad was in jail. I'm staying at the Westin O'Hare while my dad's incarcerated. Nelson was essentially catfishing teenagers to research his role. Fact 11. Most of the confession scene was improvised. The heart of The Breakfast Club, those raw, emotional confession scenes, weren't scripted. According to the actors, the most crucial moment of improvisation came when they were asked to tell their own detention stories in one of the film's most iconic scenes. Hughes created a framework, then let his actors fill it with truth. This improvisational approach explains why the confessions feel so genuine. The actors weren't reciting lines about fictional trauma. They were channeling real experiences, real pain, real vulnerability. Hughes trusted them to find the emotional core of their characters without over-directing the process. Encouraged to ad-lib their dialogue, the cast brought out sincere aspects of their characters through their own experiences. The result is a scene that transcends typical movie dialogue and achieves something closer to documentary authenticity. Fact 12. Neo Maxi Zoom Dweeby was made up on the spot. One of the film's most quotable insults came straight from Judd Nelson's mouth with no script preparation. Nelson was known for coming up with stuff on the spot, including the ultimate Bender quote, "Neo Maxi Zoom Dweeby." This wasn't written by Hughes, this was pure Nelson creativity. The phrase perfectly captures Bender's character. Intelligent enough to create complex insults, rebellious enough to mock authority, and theatrical enough to make everything sound like performance art. Nelson didn't just deliver lines, he created a vocabulary for teenage rebellion. The improvised nature of Bender's best moments makes the character feel spontaneous and dangerous. You never know what he'll say next, because Nelson himself didn't know what he'd say next. Fact 13. Bender's blonde joke never got a punchline. While crawling his way through an air duct, Bender entertains himself by remembering a joke about a blonde, a poodle, and a 6-foot salami, but before he can deliver the punchline, he abruptly falls through the ceiling. For nearly 40 years, fans have been trying to complete this joke. Since the joke was never in the script, it has remained unfinished, though many Reddit users have tried their hand at giving it a proper ending. The unfinished joke became an accidental piece of interactive cinema, audiences completing the story themselves. The mystery represents everything perfect about Bender's character. He's always building up to something, always promising revelation, but he's too chaotic to follow through. The unfinished joke is Bender in microcosm. Fact 14. The film helped create the Brat Pack. The Breakfast Club didn't just launch careers, it created an entire cultural phenomenon. In the spring of 1985, New York Magazine writer David Blum was asked to follow rising star Emilio Estevez for a profile. After Blum witnessed Estevez trying to get a free ticket to an 8 p.m. screening of Ladyhawke, he observed a sense of entitlement in the young actor. Blum would later observe the same attitude in many other young stars, coining the term Brat Pack. Although Blum's umbrella term became synonymous with the group that included members such as Estevez, Rob Lowe, Judd Nelson, and Molly Ringwald, its origins really began with The Breakfast Club, which was the first film to star multiple members. The Brat Pack label would follow these actors for decades, sometimes helping their careers, sometimes hurting them, but always connecting them to this single movie that captured lightning in a bottle. Fact 15. Two cast members were actually teenagers. While The Breakfast Club perfectly captured teenage life, most of the teenagers were in their 20s. As the only actors on set actually within the age group of their characters, 16-year-olds Anthony Michael Hall and Molly Ringwald reportedly became so inseparable during production that they briefly dated while shooting. The other cast members were already in their early 20s by the time filming commenced. Both Emilio Estevez and Ali Sheedy were already 23 years of age, and Judd Nelson topped everyone at 24. The age gap created an interesting dynamic as the actual teenagers dated while the older actors played their characters. This real-world teenage romance added another layer of authenticity to the production. Hall and Ringwald weren't just acting like teenagers, they were being teenagers, complete with all the awkwardness and intensity that implies. Fact 16. The film was shot entirely in sequence. Most movies shoot out of sequence for scheduling and budget reasons, but The Breakfast Club took a different approach. Given the opportunity to joke around on set as well as ad-lib many of their lines, they shot the film entirely in sequence, a method that is unconventional by today's standards. Shooting in sequence allowed the actors to develop their relationships organically, just like their characters. The awkwardness at the beginning is real awkwardness between strangers. The intimacy at the end is real intimacy between friends who've spent weeks together. This method also meant that character growth happened naturally over time rather than being manufactured in post-production. The actors experience the same emotional journey as their characters, which adds layers of authenticity to every scene. Fact 17. A deleted bathroom scene surfaced after 30 years. The Criterion Collection release revealed scenes that fans never knew existed. In October 2017, the prestigious home video distribution company known as the Criterion Collection announced that The Breakfast Club would join its list of titles, receiving a 4K digital restoration, as well as over 50 additional minutes of footage, which would be included as part of the bonus features. In one deleted scene featured on the release, Claire and Allison can be witnessed sharing a brief moment inside the girls' restroom. As Allison washes her hands, Claire attempts to start a conversation regarding Allison's odd choice of eating potato chips while only a few feet from a live toilet. Disregarding her question, Allison picks up a chip from inside the sink and eats it before leaving the room. This scene perfectly captures Allison's character, completely comfortable with behavior that others find disturbing, immune to social conventions, operating by her own mysterious logic. Fact 18. Universal originally rejected the script. The studio that eventually distributed The Breakfast Club initially wanted nothing to do with it. At first, Hughes was turned down by Universal, who couldn't see the appeal of the stripped-down, brutal honesty of the characters. They looked at a script about 5 kids talking in a library and saw box office poison. Universal's initial rejection reveals how radical The Breakfast Club really was. In 1984, teen movies meant sex comedies, horror films, or mindless wish-fulfillment fantasies. A movie about real emotional problems seemed unmarketable. The eventual success proved that audiences were hungry for authenticity, even if studios couldn't see it. Sometimes the most commercial idea is the most honest one. Fact 19. The cast was pampered, despite the heat. Despite the brutal filming conditions, Hughes made sure his young actors felt supported. Thrust into the rigorous working schedule of Hollywood, the cast of The Breakfast Club have since admitted they were pampered during the shoot. Hughes understood that getting authentic performances from teenagers required treating them with respect and care. This pampering wasn't just about comfort, it was about creating the right emotional environment. Hughes needed his actors to feel safe enough to be vulnerable, trusted enough to take risks, and valued enough to give their best work. The combination of physical hardship and emotional support created the perfect conditions for breakthrough performances. The actors had to work hard, but they knew Hughes had their backs. Fact 20. Hughes and Ringwald's friendship eventually ended. The creative partnership that defined 1980s teen cinema eventually collapsed. Hughes also had a falling out with Molly Ringwald in the late 80s when she wanted to switch from teen films to more adult roles. Their 3-film collaboration ended not with celebration, but with professional disagreement. Ringwald's desire to grow as an actress conflicted with Hughes's vision of her as his eternal teenager. He wanted to keep making movies about adolescence. She wanted to explore adulthood. Neither was wrong, but they couldn't find common ground. The end of their partnership marked the end of an era in teen filmmaking. Hughes never found another muse like Ringwald, and Ringwald never found another collaborator who understood her teenage persona so completely. Bonus fact: there's a longer version of John Hughes's The Breakfast Club out there, and Judd Nelson says watching it feels like being in detention. Hughes created a 4-hour raw cut that included every improvisation, every character moment, every experimental scene. John Hughes made a 4-hour raw cut of The Breakfast Club, and the cast have seen it, but Emilio Estevez calls it unreleasable. The cast has watched this extended version, but they agree it would never work as a theatrical release. Imagine spending 4 hours in that library with these characters. The theatrical version gives you just enough time to fall in love with them. 4 hours might make you understand why they're all in detention in the first place. The Breakfast Club endures because it captured something real about teenage life. Not the fantasy of high school movies, but the brutal honesty of growing up. Behind every perfect moment on screen lay chaos, conflict, and genuine human struggle. The movie works because the people making it were just as confused, passionate, and desperate to connect as the characters they were playing. These weren't just actors delivering lines about teenage angst, they were young people living through it, processing it, and transforming it into art. 40 years later, The Breakfast Club still feels immediate and authentic because it was made by people brave enough to tell the truth about what it means to be young and lost and looking for connection. If you enjoyed these behind-the-scenes secrets, make sure to like and subscribe for more deep dives into the movies that defined our culture. And remember, we're all pretty bizarre. Some of us are just better at hiding it in our YouTube comments. Don't forget about us.